this by your time region or when you are going to upload or watch this video. I'm here to teach you or tell you how you could collect plants for authentication. How you could collect plant samples for authentication. First and foremost, you must make sure that the plant you are going to collect must be one that has the fruits and the seeds. So that means that the plant must be collected in the fruiting season of that plant. You don't just go and collect the plant at any time. No, you collect it during the fruiting period. But there are some plants that fruit all year round, and that would be very appropriate. But for those that don't fruit all year round, you must make adequate findings too as to when you could collect them. You'll need a knife, you'll need a scissors, and you'll need a pack of gloves. So you'll need a knife. I go again. You need a knife, you need a pair of scissors, you need hand gloves, you may need notebooks as this, and you may also need a pair, that's old newspaper cuttings, old newspapers. Like, you may also need old newspapers for you to be able to do what you have to do. Then you must also go with a pen and a notebook to take some information if need be. So, like today, we may be going in to collect the plant Senna alata. We'll be going to collect the Senna alata. If you are watching this video and you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button now. You can also like, share, and comment. Thank you. Before you go to the farm or the forest or wherever you want to collect your plants, you go to your Google Play Store and download an app, GPS camera. I'm taking you through how you are going to download GPS camera, GPS map camera lights. You see it's GPS photo with location and map. You download it. Install. This is a GPS location with map. This is the first thing you do, so that you could get the exact coordinates from where the plant was collected. Now, you can now move to the farm. A plant of choice that we could use. It has both the leaves. You should make sure you locate a plant that is not sterile, a plant that has both the leaves and fruit attached to it. So right before us here is Senna alata. So the first thing I do is that I take a photograph of the Senna alata standing with my GPS camera. I take a photograph. You'll discover there it is written Amasoma Bayelsa, Nigeria. You can see the coordinates there, the latitude, the longitude, the time, the dates, and the time of collection. So it is telling me exactly where I am collecting my plant from. I take several shots of the plants with my GPS camera. Then the next thing I do is to cut some. A scissors is preferable for this. So I cut some flowers and some plants. Cut. You go into the field with a paper, a newspaper, an old newspaper, a bunch of old newspaper. Then you can make a cutting of your leaf. Then immediately you do that, You put it into the newspaper. Are you getting it? You put it into the newspaper. Make sure that you don't carry ants along with it. You make sure you collect something that is good, not something that is insects. You can see there are insect holes there, so it's not very, very good. So look for another one that has not been damaged by insects. I think this is okay. So you place this in a notebook or you use a cover. You could move to another page of a newspaper cuttings and you put the other one. You make sure that you flatten it out. You flatten the leaves out because it's exactly how they will be. That's how it's going to stay until you take it to your point of authentication. Then you move. Cut. Okay. You turn some of the leaves to the opposite side so that we could capture the back of the leaves. The leaves don't just have to face only one side. You must do both. Then you cover. Here I'm using a notebook, but the ideal thing you are to use is an old newspaper, newsprint, so that it could absorb some of the water that is being contained in the plants, so that it will absorb it. And you make sure that if you are not going to go immediately to identify your plants, you make sure that you change the newspaper at least every 2 days, because once it absorbs the water, before you know it, it will become wet, and if you allow it to continue, your plants will start withering or giving way. So we have fixed one. We move to another page on the notebook. We still do the same thing. You make sure your plants are not sterile, because there are some plants that look alike. So we cannot just say, okay, with just the leaves, we've been able to identify the plants. It's easier to identify plants when you have the reproductive parts attached to it. So you turn this again. You can see the leaf, the flower I collected. There is an ant here. I want to get it out. The flower I collected. So also, I have another notebook here. Do this. So I strongly press them down. So you could now bind these notebooks with a rope. You could bind them with a rope. You bind them with a rope. What you are trying to do is pressing when you bind them with a rope. But for dried fruits, you may still need to press. But there are some of them that you may not actually be able to press. You have to store them in separate containers when you take them to a burial. But they are actually needed for the identification of the plants. So you could tie this up with a rope and put them, preferably you use a press. But since it may be a one-time thing, you may decide to put it under your mattress at home. Under your mattress at home. Make sure it's not on a spring bed. It should be on a wooden surface that is uniform. You make sure you put it on a wooden surface that is uniform. Most of the times I advise students to put it under their mattresses that they're sleeping, and you will discover that it will be properly pressed by the time you get to the place of authentication or the herbarium. It's already done. Then you can submit it. Preferably, it's better for you to use a newspaper, because when you are going to the herbarium, you submit what is in the newspaper and not what is in the notebook. So, apart from the information your GPS map is going to give to you, you must be able to understand the location, the geographical location, whether it's savanna, whether it's rainforests, or whether it's the Sahara. You must be able to pick a topography for where you collected your plants, and you must indicate it. And you must indicate yourself as the plant collector before you submit the plants for authentication. Thank you very much. There are actually some precautions that you have to take before going into the field or the bush or the... In this video particularly, I'm just going into the pharmacognosy garden, which is very close to me here. So I may not really need some kind of things, but basically the first things first, you don't wear perfume when you want to go for plant collection, because you may be attacked by insects. Insects are attracted to fine smells, so you don't need to go in with a perfume. Then 2, you must wear protective shoes and protective clothing in case you may run into a beehive. You must wear protective shoes and protective clothing. Where possible, you get insect repellents to rub on your skin. Insect repellents, so that you will not attract insects. You will not attract insects. Then you make sure that for your footwear, wear things like a boot. You wear like a boot, so it's easier to run away with a boot, and you are protecting your feet from attack by creeping animals, especially snakes. You are preventing yourself from being stung by bees also. So you make sure that you wear light clothing. You wear light clothing, but it must be protective. At least it must be long sleeve, must cover your hands, and your legs must be properly covered. Preferably, if you can go in with trousers as a female, you go in with trousers as a female. Preferably jeans into the field for your collection. Make sure you wear a lot of protective covering. Thank you.